This episode of Life's a Garden is brought to you by Yellowstone CrossFit. I've talked about these guys before, and I told you all a while back that I was going to get my membership and start going. Well, guess what? I finally did it. Had my first CrossFit experience this week, and when I tell you I was walking out of there like Bambi, I am not joking. That thing whooped my ass. But it was the best workout I've had in a very long time, and I feel great. If any of you are interested in doing CrossFit, getting in better shape, getting healthier, go check out Yellowstone CrossFit, located at 2701 Enterprise Avenue. You can find them on Facebook, get in contact with them, or just go down, check out a class, see if you're interested. And if you are, get a membership and get fit. Today's guest is an extremely talented guitar player. He has been in multiple bands throughout the years here in the Billings music scene, and he is currently working on multiple projects, including some solo work that he produces himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Karter Estill. All right. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, dude. How are you?
I am good. So what have you been up to, man? I feel like we haven't really talked in a long time.
I know, it has been a while. Well, I personally, just in like a non-musical sense, I've just got a new job. So that's going crazy. I'm studying for my securities licenses so I can talk about investing and stuff, and something that I've worked for since I was 19 in the finance industry. So that's been going crazy. My wife is almost done with school, so there's a lot of good change coming our way and going on right now. And then musical side of stuff, it's starting to ramp up and get super fast, and
Sweet.
It's getting exciting. So
what
about you?
Feeling. Oh, I've been good, just working and been working out a lot lately.
Yeah, me too.
And then I could tell, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll have to pick each other's brains on fitness because I've become a total gym rat. So.
Oh yeah. And then obviously the music too. Just been doing band stuff, and
I know I love Cutthroat.
Thanks, man.
I do. You guys put on such a good show. It's great,
dude. It's so good to be back on stage finally.
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. Like the last time I was on stage was right before the shutdown. It was that Rage Against the Machine tribute show, which was super fun.
Right.
It was just a blast, and but there was still a part of me that, like when you're on stage and you're playing your own stuff, and for me that kind of solidified that I could never just be in a cover band. I'm always going to be a songwriter, and I'm always going to want to play my own music. So, and it's fun to play covers. I love playing covers.
Right.
But, yeah, I can't wait to get on stage and actually play my own stuff again.
Yeah, well, the number one thing that people always come up to us after the show and say is, oh, man, you guys got to get some covers in there. It's like, yeah, I get, what you're saying. I understand the, concept behind it.
Yeah.
But that's just not what we do. If you want a cover band, there's a million of them. Dude.
Yeah, and there's really good ones.
Yeah,
in Billings,
for sure.
Like Kicking Karma. So yeah, no, I totally get it. I think always having it in your arsenal though is super important.
Oh yeah, it's nice because it's stuff people know. People can
well, and if you can make it your own too. I mean, look at what all these other bands. There's a lot of bands that'll throw a cover out and it sounds like the original because they're doing an homage, and there's bands that will do it their own way. For example, Disturbed does their own. That I've always respected that.
Yeah,
they don't change it so much to where it's unrecognizable, but they change it enough to where you're like, dang, that was a really different take on how that song was perceived. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the Sound of Silence cover.
Yeah.
But I thought it was incredible. I've heard the original. I get it. I respect Simon and Garfunkel, but when you hear him just it's so fast, it almost loses, for me, it almost loses that meaning. And then when they just slowed it down and made it that ballad,
well, I feel like that's the way that song was meant to be. And then I feel the same way about Gone Away by the one. Well,
Five Finger
Offspring,
Death Punch
and then Five Finger Death Punch. The way Five Finger Death Punch slows it down, that's like the way that song was meant to be played
Yeah.
in my eyes, because it's a somber song, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's
Offspring
definitely
kind
a
of
different
makes it
take.
more like poppy a little bit.
It was definitely a different take. I didn't see that coming and I know, everybody hates on Five Finger Death Punch, but sometimes when there are some covers they should not have done.
Right.
But there are a few where it's like, dang, that was really good, because they're all really good musicians. And that's what's so funny about like mainstream bands. Like, people hate on Nickelback, they hate on Five Finger. Like, speaking of Five Finger, I'm not a big fan of their last few records. They're just not good to me. Their first 2 albums were great.
I agree.
And because they were like, there's obviously always heavy bands, even, during the 90s when metal kind of went underground and grunge kind of took over. But, like, they were something different when that first record came out. They weren't necessarily metalcore, but they weren't like Slipknot heavy. They were just different.
Yeah.
They were a different type. It was almost like, and I'm sure I'm going to get heat for this one, but it was almost like a different Pantera. Like,
I see
in that
what you
first,
mean.
you know what
like
I mean?
Like a new
Like,
generation style.
that first record had a lot of really great riffs and a lot of dirt to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wish they would have kind of stuck with that a little more.
yeah, that's
feel
what
like
I mean.
they got-
Like, they just keep writing the same song. They keep writing the same record after they came out, I think, with like their third album.
Yeah.
But, there's something about doing a cover your own way and then just doing songs that shouldn't be covered, and they definitely are doing that.
Well, they're one of those really cover happy bands that they saw the success in doing covers, and then they just kind of kept rolling with that.
Definitely. But I think what I was going back to saying is that, like, it's funny that all those like popular bands get made fun of, but you look at the musicianship in those bands, they are so goddamn good. Like, Chad Kroeger said once too, he goes, I write songs for Nickelback fans, and who's the biggest Nickelback fan? Me. And that's why they're so successful, because they are really talented musicians and really talented songwriters. There is Andy James, my favorite guitar player, Andy James, is playing with Five Finger now.
Oh, okay.
And people, like, in his own comment section, because he's such known for being a solo artist and just an incredible virtuoso guitar player. But now people are like lighting him up. Oh, you're playing with Five Finger Death Punch. Same thing when Jeff Loomis went to Arch Enemy, selling out. I was like, dude, money talks, bullshit walks.
Well,
like,
here's something. It's funny that you even brought this up, because I was just thinking about this, I think, yesterday. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking kind of something similar about this, just like the hate that people get when they're really popular, really famous. And it's just inevitable that, fame and like popularity equals hate. And it's because people just can't stand success, and a lot of the people who hate on that are the people who, are envious of that.
Oh, definitely.
And who probably will never be successful, and they're just jealous and just hate on people who are successful.
Yeah. Well, and what I see too a lot, and I try not to, I like to just go see who's like, talking crap in the comments and stuff. I don't engage too much, but like, I like to see all the people that think they have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not musicians, or they've never been in a band that has even had moderate, even local success or anything like that. Like, they just don't
understand the struggle.
Well, they don't get that it's the music industry.
Yeah.
It's a business. Yes, you want to make money. Do people? I'm absolutely, you go up there for the love of it, because you love what you can do as a musician and the reaction you can get, and the community and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay the bills, and if you can write a song that's going to pay your bills, you're damn right you're going to want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not want to do that?
Well, and there's music for everybody anyway. So like, if that band's not your flavor, hey, go check out one that is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do like that kind of music, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And if that's not your flavor, fine. Don't gotta hate on it. Just go listen to the stuff you like.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love Ghost. Avenged Sevenfold always is going to be my favorite band. But I don't always agree with what they do. But coming from somebody who writes songs and understands the band dynamic, and not in the sense that they do, where they're, this multi-platinum selling band, they've got a record label, blah, blah, blah. I don't understand it on a personal level that they do. But I can understand where they come from when they do certain decisions. And if I don't agree with the decision, I'm not going to just totally write them off.
Right. When you got to think about bands too, like when they become more successful and the longer they play, their view on the world changes from when they were just a band playing in the garage. The way they write songs, the way you interpret music and all this stuff, you see things through a different lens as you go on throughout your music career. So you got to expect that things are going to end up changing.
Well, and that's a funny thing. I always had an argument with like a past band member about, he'd always have an attitude just like, I just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. And it's like, yeah, those bands perpetuate that, but they actually do. Like, they're actually really good at, crafting or honing their craft and like being good musicians. Like, you have to care. You have to care about the business side. You have to care about the songwriting. You have to care about the performance. For me, the most important thing is the performance, right?
Well, that's what people remember.
Exactly. No matter, and that's the thing, like, I remember, 5-6 years ago coming through, like, as ETU and stuff like that, like, there were still a lot of the older Billings bands, like Cancerous and Endeavor and all the, kind of, I like to call them the Godfathers, they kind of just, like, opened up, and now, unfortunately, those bands are gone. Right. But, they all taught us something out of it. But then I noticed, like, there was, like, it wasn't like a specific group or anything, but there was always, like, this, like, stigma that you just, like, shouldn't try to, and maybe it's just me, maybe I just overthink about stuff, but, like, you shouldn't try to give 110% every time you're up there, because then that would be selling out. You shouldn't, do you know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about. Like, don't act like this. I would look at it like this idea, like, why are you acting like you're, a signed band that's, like, performing in front of a sellout crowd? Well, that's how you should act. Yeah. Because if you want to get to that, you got to act like
exactly.
That.
You dress for the job you want, not the job you have, right? So, like, it was never a thing where we thought we were, like, better, or it was just there were certain things, like, as we started playing with, like, bigger bands, we started to learn, like, why, just because I'm playing a local venue, why should I be okay with bad sound? Why should I be okay with the power cutting out every 5 seconds and busting my $2,000 head? Like, there are certain things where it's okay to say something, because in my eyes, people paid for a local band. Mm-hmm. 5 dudes, 4 dudes, whatever, that they might not even know, but they paid $5 that they could have bought a beer with to watch me play for an hour. I mean, that's humbling. That's a gracious thing. So for me, I've always wanted to give them their money's worth. Whether it be $5, I'm going to make it a concert that was worth $500. I'll do what I can to do that. And that's just, like, always, like, how I thought. And sometimes I felt like I got some flack about that. Like you were saying, you try to act like you're a signed band because that's what you want to be. Mm-hmm. But the pieces of being in that world, like, you don't want to, like, reciprocate. You don't want to be like, I'm better than this, I'm better than you. Like, you don't want to be like that. But you want to bring the professionalism to it. Yeah. I mean, I'll do, like you said, people paying for this, I'll do that for a free show. You know, because like what we were saying before, that's the thing people remember. If you put on like a show that people are feel like this is a professional show, well, they're going to look at you like you're a professional. Yeah. If you act like you're a garage band that doesn't give a shit, that's how they're going to feel about you. And sometimes that's cool. Like, it's if that's what you want to be. We're not talking down on that aspect, but you shouldn't talk crap on people that are taking, like, okay, like my personal rule, I don't drink before or during a show, ever. Okay. Never have. Afterwards, okay, maybe. But because, like, one, alcohol and me, as far as coordination, do not mix. Sure. Any sense of the word. Just doesn't happen. And, like, for me, that was always, like, a rule to, like, not need liquid confidence, like, to get in front of. And, yeah, at first, it was kind of weird, like, getting in front of people. Now it's, like, nothing. It's, like, oh, there's, like, 400 people here? Whatever. You know, cool. I'll only see, like, 20 of them with the lights, you know. So it's not a big deal. It's always been about the music for me. Like, it's about that performance and that energy, and I just know that like if I get up there and I just get sloppy and stop caring, you know.
Yeah. For me, I like to have one before, just to like you said, ease the nerves, because I do get nervous.
Yeah.
But I'm with you too. Like, I don't like to drink a lot before the show for sure, because for me, well, one, as a singer, you get burps and stuff, and I hate that. And two, I have the biggest fear of like slurring my words, and even just slightly, like if you're not on point, it can ruin a
and
show.
Even if the crowd like doesn't know that you've messed up, or like if you start feeling, then they start to see it.
Yep.
Because once you there's a couple times where like I would eat before like I'd get off work and we'd have a show, so I had to get like go grab all my stuff, get to sound check, and then like play the show. So I didn't even get to eat. So then what I started doing is like right before the show, I'm gonna go eat, and then I stopped moving. And where ETU, Nate would look over at me, he'd just be like, "You went and ate dinner, didn't you?"
Like you were just...
like we were playing, because I was so full
that
I couldn't like jump around. He's like, "I bet you're gonna stop doing that, aren't you?" Because there's one time I ate Dickie's barbecue. It was always a thing. I love Dickie's, and so like we play the pub, so I'd always get Dickie's for dinner, and that was the last time I started doing that, like, before a show, because I about threw up one time, because I was jumping, damn. I was, like, getting the burps, and he was looking over at me, and I was like, not again, not doing this.
Right. No, I feel you there. It's just whatever you can do to make the performance better.
Exactly.
Like, just even in the smallest things like that. And I think if you do care about it, you will take things seriously, like you said, sound, lighting, overall performance.
Well, and you use what you can too. Like you work with what you got.
Yeah.
Like I never had a lighting like thing. My uncle he used to have he used to manage the Farthest Edge.
Oh, okay.
And so they had a bunch of money, because of just they all were adults and had money, and they played shows, and they had an investor and all that kind of stuff. But he had lights and stuff. Like, he had tens of thousands of dollars worth of lights. So occasionally when we play the pub, we got to use his lights, and that was cool. But, like, again, you work with what you got. If you got 4 bucket cans, then that's what you got. But that's when you go back to the performance aspect of it. Like, so, okay, we have no real stage. We're just on the floor.
Yeah.
We've got 4 cans. Yeah, like at Craft Local.
You just make it work for you, man.
Exactly. Like, I think it's cool, like, watching you guys play at Craft Local.
And that's a hard venue to play.
And because it's long, and you're in the middle playing this way when everybody's
to a short
this
wall,
way. Yeah. It's very awkward. And we used to play in some weird places too. We played in this place called the Complex in Bozeman. They tore it down. It was really cool. Super crappy on the outside. Just looked like a total dive. I remember pulling up. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna get shot. Like, this is crazy. And we go in, and there's like Metra quality sound in there. This sound guy did the Brick Breeden sound too.
Oh, okay.
That did at the Complex, I guess. The sound we had there that was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But it so you had the main stage, it was small, but then you had the drums that were on a secondary stage that were above. So Andre sat like 5 or 6 feet above us, behind us. That was weird.
That's pretty rad, though.
It was cool. It was really cool. It was a cool experience. And they tore that venue down. I was so disappointed.
Damn.
But it was weird because, like, even though your drums, like, you're sitting in the back and stuff, usually you got your cabs, you got your bass, you got all that. He's just has the monitor at this point, so it was a very different experience for him. He said I felt so disconnected.
Okay, that
from
makes sense.
The rest of the band because of how far back
he's just up there by himself.
Yeah, because it was cool, but it was weird. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
You work with what you got, though. We gave a hell of a performance that night.
Well, I like the fact that you have to improvise sometimes. You have to deal with different stage setups. You have to deal with different sounds, and you just kind of got to adjust and make it work for you. And I like that. It just kind of keeps you on your toes, and it makes it so every show is not the same.
Yeah, and it can get very repetitive in the same town when you're not going around.
We've been having a hard time right now trying to find new venues. Like, I don't want to just keep playing the Craft Local. I like it there, even though it is a difficult room to play. I mean, I don't mind playing there, but it's just not a lot of venues right now. I was looking at I think we might be playing Andy's here.
Yeah, Andy's is starting to pop a little bit. I think give it a few more months, and there'll be some more. I think Andy's will do really good for shows. I think what did they change the brew pub to? Or not the brew pub, the brewing company to?
Oh, it's Thirsty Street.
I think they'll do some.
Well, I got a hold of that guy, and he told me, oh yeah, we're like, they were asking for musicians and stuff, and I sent a resume and whatever. I was like, hey, we're looking to play some shows. And he was like, oh yeah, well, we'll be doing like a metal weekend in July. I'm like, well, that doesn't help me now.
Yeah.
It's like, but hey, okay, there's something in July, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get some of the venues aren't... They're not built for us, right? They're not built for them. But I think, like... As much as I think all of us have a very affectionate place in our hearts for the rail yard... Some of us have a little bit of a love-hate relation. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with the rail yard, but it still was like, at least we had the yard. You
always play there.
At least we had the yard. I remember being in high school, and since we graduated at the same time, I'm sure, I don't know if you really remember this, like, rhetoric, but this was, like, how I had it in my head, like, senior year. Like, when we first started in Suburban Society, which you were in that band too, right?
For a very short time, yeah.
For a minute. Me too. So I remember, like, if you starting out, you played the perk. Remember the perk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that was everybody played, right? And then if you were good enough, you could play the foe.
Yep.
Because the foe was better.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the rail yard was kind of at its peak, when Sean was kind of doing both that and Manny's, you'd get into the rail yard or you'd go to Manny's, and that was like top tier. And then once the pub station opened, it all kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, like Cameron Records does stuff.
We're trying to get there. We haven't really tried to ask them again, but that was going to be our first show, and that was right before things shut down.
I liked when you guys played the Tap In, though. I never thought of that little alleyway being a venue. Like,
right.
I mean, if they could do that for the summer, like over the weekends, and just get bands to play, that would be sweet.
That would be very awesome. And my dad knows the guy, so I think I'm going to try and...
That was a really cool experience. I had never been in that area.
It's not a bad venue.
No, and to have it like with the brick too, it like coned the sound.
Yeah.
So it was clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll I moved this.
Oh, you're fine.
Hopefully that'll open up this summer.
Well, yeah, once it starts getting warm out, you'll get that outside venue. Yeah. Like, I know the Squire does stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And then...
They have bands. They have, like... Well, see, and that's the thing, too, is, like... I know a lot of venues, they don't want to take... They don't want to take the chance on originals, because are they going to get, people
a crowd.
in or crowd? Are we going to drive the crowd out? I think that was one thing, like, I loved the... Mosevo when they were doing some shows, and they'd kind of bring in a little bit more rock. I think Justin played there when Photoshop played there, and like
I think I saw one of their shows there.
Yeah, and bless their hearts, because like that is a hard. You're a coffee shop and you want to do a metal show. I mean, that's awesome, but you have to. There is a give and take there where it's like, should we do this or should we stick to our acoustic nights and things like that? And that's up to the venue owner. But I also do think that there needs to be a little bit of ballsiness to it too, and say, yeah, we're going to do this tonight. This is what we're going to do every weekend. We're going to have
take a chance.
original metal bands.
And if it doesn't work, you can go back to the way it was.
Exactly. What do you lose? Oh, you lost a week. You're still a coffee shop. You make money all day long,
And I think the thing is, a lot of places don't view local rock metal bands as having a fan following.
Yeah.
And, a lot of us do.
Yeah.
They don't really think about it. It's like, that whole show we did at Craft Local, that was all, like, our people.
That was awesome, dude. It was packed.
It's like, but then, it's like venues like Andy's. That's something that I think we could always play.
Yeah.
And we know we can play Craft Local and stuff.
They're willing to take a chance.
And also it's like a divey type bar that like that's kind of the music you expect to hear when you go into a place like that. Yeah. But like if they can start doing outside shows too there.
Like the parking lot show was cool.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
And that parking lot's pretty big enough for it's kind of on a weird spot there on the corner in the street, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much about that new venue out in Shepherd. It's super nice. Like, it looks like a concert hall.
Are you talking about the one in Huntley?
Yeah, is it in Huntley?
At the Blue Cat?
Yeah, I think that
place is cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're gonna allow for local bands, but I mean, again, it's just like take a chance, because how many beer sales do you think that Craft Local did that night you guys were playing?
I'm sure it was huge.
Yeah, there was people buying beer. People are going to drink. Like,
and it was just us. Like, they'd be so... Can you imagine if we had, like, 2 or 3 other bands with us?
yeah,
and
nobody that I noticed walked in and left because there was a band. They all came in because they were all going to drink, and they were all going to listen to music. That's what the venue presents itself as, right?
Yeah, well, it's like if you end up driving some people away that were planning on just going and drinking that night, you're going to drive 2 people away and bring in 4.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, that's just, you got to take that sacrifice sometimes, and then, you know, those people are going to be back tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's up to the bands too. I mean, you have to promote yourself. You have to sell tickets, or if you're doing that, I mean, you can't just not do that. And it can be exhausting. It can be hard, but like I remember like at peak ETU stuff, we were able to like, we could sell like pre-sale maybe 100, 150 tickets just by ourselves, but we'd still bring in 300 people just by draw. But it took a long time to get to that level.
Yeah.
But we door-to-doored those ticket sales. We were on, people like your status for tickets, you message them. Like, and it seems like, you know, as a local band in Billings, like, oh man, that's a really like Sharky way to know. But
whatever
Billings
works, man.
is so slow. Like, people will wait until the last minute for everything here. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're playing a show and it'll be like 5 minutes before you go on. You got tickets left? No, dude, it's sold out. Like, you messaged me a month ago for tickets. It's just what happens. So you just have to do that stuff, you know?
Right. Well, the bottom line is if you get people in there to see you, that's... This last show, we had a few people that had never seen... We've only played, you know, a handful of shows.
Yeah.
But there was people who had seen us for the first time, and they come up to me after the show like, dude, let me know when your next show is. So the only way you can get people like confident in your band is they got to see you. They're either going to like you or they're not.
Yeah.
But if they like you, they'll be back.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So if you sell those tickets, that's asses and seats. That equals eyes on you.
Yeah. Well, and that's what goes far in... People would always ask us, and I don't obviously want to reference my old band all the time, but it's a lot of the examples that I have.
It's what you know.
But like people would always ask us, like, how do you play those big shows? Like, what do you guys do? It's like, we sell tickets on our own shows and for those, and we recorded. You know, it doesn't matter where we have enough of a good quality recording that gets us accepted. So like the way it works is a touring act will come into town. The touring manager will be like, okay, we have a slot open for a local if you have one. And then the booking manager of the venue will go and he'll present, let's say 4 bands. And they'll look at the 4 bands and they'll say, okay, where's the recording for this one? They don't have one, so they're out. Like, if they don't hear you or at least can know what you sound like, they might not take the shot. So it's really the tour manager that decides who you play. Now, not the catch-22, but the added bonus, if you sell tickets and they know that you can sell, they'll be like, yeah, we'll take them then. So, like, we sold tickets. Like, we played with Nonpoint. That's still to this day probably one of my favorite shows I've ever played and one of the best shows we ever played. But half that crowd, I can honestly say we brought half that crowd because we sold the tickets. But I mean, after that, they were all there for Nonpoint. But
right.
But like, I mean, it was a lot of our fans in the crowd, and that's what I mean. Is like you have to do that work to get to that level to be able to start playing those shows and doing those things. I've been out of that game for a while, so I'm not really sure if that's how, you know, example, the pub station operates, you know, now that, like, Carrie's gone, and I think he left the pub.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I don't know who's doing booking there now, but at least in my time, that's what you had to do, you know. I remember the first show we ever played for Sean was at the Rail Yard, and it was Capture the Crown. And we had sold like 100. We like sold the Rail Yard out, which is not. I mean, the Rail Yard held like 120 people, maybe comfortably.
Yeah.
At the fire code level, and we had sold the Rail Yard out with ticket sales, and that was a big turning point for us because he's like, all right, I back you guys.
Well, yeah. Once they see you can bring a crowd, like that is the biggest thing because nobody wants you if they can't sell, you know, beer, sell.
Yeah, and
tickets.
Especially at that time it was 2013, 2014, so like majority of our band was under 21.
Yeah.
So like our crowd base, our fan base, a lot of them were people we went to high school with or friends, and they were all underage. So your venue loses out on a bunch of money that way. And it is important, like for beer and stuff like that. That is important to get them into an older crowd and sell them. So if you can prove that, now it's like something I don't even think about, because it's like,
it's easy now.
27 now, so whatever, you know. But yeah, I totally agree. It's all about the work and the ethic that you put into it, and then just making sure that you, I don't want to sound like big for my britches or conceited or anything, but like helping like everybody else. Like when you kind of figure out the way to do it, you just kind of help everybody else. Like I remember when Silverbow Society, and I think they changed their name to Greyjoy now.
Yeah.
When they were first, I mean, they were like 16 when they were playing the pub station, but like we told them, like, this is what you do. You sell tickets, you get your friends to come no matter what, and you will be able to play like the. And then they just went crazy. Also because they were insane at 16. I wish I was that good at 16.
Right.
Watching Connor and Ty and Caleb and Trevin play, like, dude, they played Welcome Home one time.
Yeah,
they played with
I saw
us.
that.
Oh my god, like, I just remember even Ryan Hayes from Righteous Vendetta was there, and he's looking at me like, I was like, these kids are like 17, dude. And he's like, are you serious? Like, they were so good. They're so good. And that's one thing I love about this local scene, and even though, like, I haven't really been a part of it for a while, like, actively, it's just how much talent we have in Billings. Like, we have so many good musicians.
Oh, I know. And,
dude.
I mean, our guitar player, Drew,
I never heard of him
exactly.
before.
Well, this is his first band.
Yeah.
He's just turned 30.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's hidden talent that nobody knows about.
Uh-huh.
Like, that was just a fluke that we found him.
Yeah. I know. He's super good. Yeah. He is a super good guitar player. And that's the thing. I was like, where did this guy come from? Mm-hmm. Like, it's great. And that's the thing, like I said, I love about the scene is that there's so much talent here. And when everybody works together and everybody wants to do the same thing, it's really beautiful. Like,
well, and that's one of the hardest things is getting, 4 and 5 people to be able to work together and have the same drive, have the same,
oh yeah,
vision and motivation, and not, just to be able to compromise and work together, because not everyone has the same, idea of what they want. You just kind of got to, like, make it your own. And sometimes that takes a while, and sometimes it just happens naturally. Yeah,
definitely. I think, too, like, motivation's a big thing, too.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
Like, I think there's a lot of people that, like, oh, yeah, I play in a band on the weekends, whatever. That's cool. But for some of us, like, if you like, the people that you're going to play with don't look at it that way,
it makes it hard.
It makes it hard, and it might not be the place for you.
Yeah.
Like, for us, like, I mean, not to say the ship has sailed, but as far as the way the music industry works now, it's achieving, like, a touring level status and stuff like that it's not like the first thing. Right. Now I've figured out, like, I started learning, like, production and stuff and music recording last year.
Okay.
I kind of took that shutdown time. At my last job I was working at, we would have, like, a week on, a week off, still get paid, which was nice. But they'd split our teams up because we had different, like, branches closed. And so I'd had this whole week off, and I had nothing to do. I was like, well, instead of playing, like, games, I have this recording software I just bought. Like, I'm going to be self-sufficient now. I'm tired of, like, having to pay somebody to do this or waiting for masters to get done. Like, I was like, I'm just going to do this for myself and for my friends and bandmates and stuff. And so I took that pandemic time, and I taught myself how to record, and now I see the music industry in just a totally different way, like, way more different. Like your podcast is not 100% music dedicated, right? You talk about everything.
Yeah.
But think about, like, what you were a musician, so you're using it for music now.
Yeah.
Like, my buddy streams on Twitch, and he knows a bunch of big Twitch guys. So now what I'm trying to get into Twitch, not streaming, because I don't have time to do that. I've thought about that, like the YouTube thing, and I just don't have time to do that. I would love to, but I'm I wrote him an intro and an outro for his streams. You know, he's like, well, here's like a few streamers that have like these stories that went viral. What if we wrote a song for them about their stories? And then they could play it. Like, we wrote one for his buddy makes like 70 grand a year just on Twitch. And we wrote a song for his Twitch channel, and he played it like 12 times. I think like 30,000 people ended up seeing it or something like that.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, so like it was like, man, there's so much more here than just playing, and that's always going to be my favorite part, is that. But
the
now,
live performance, yeah, but it's now become very digital.
Definitely, but now like I could learn. The better I get at recording, I can start recording people or doing work for people. When I was in high school, I thought I was going to go to Musicians Institute, you know, go out there and be like a session artist and play on records and stuff, and then get called to go on tours. That's what I wanted to do. And now it's like I have that ability now. There's a gentleman, his name's Michael Sweet. I don't know if you're friends with him.
I've heard
on
of that
Facebook.
name.
Yeah, he's got his own band, and I think it's just him.
Okay.
Really, but he just came out with an EP, and I did a solo on it. You know, he just asked me to do a solo. And like one afternoon, I kicked over some tracks and did it for him. So like the opportunities that are more present by doing stuff like that have just been much more fruitful for me versus trying to like just get a band going and just go on tour, which is not saying that I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I was told not to talk about anything. But
who told you that?
People in the band that I'm not in.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna ask you what you've been currently doing as far as like music, but you were saying you've been doing like the Twitch stuff and like just doing like little side projects here and there.
Yeah, and then I've been doing my own stuff too.
Yeah.
I just released my first solo single. I started writing that back in September, and I had Justin Olmsted from Righteous Vendetta mix and master it for me. That part I'm not good at yet. Mixing and mastering is still, like, I can track, no problem, and track good, but man, mixing and mastering is still a whole another ball game. But I'm getting better at it. It's definitely like learning another instrument.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And really fine-tuning your ears to know what sounds good, and, you know, hours and hours of going through YouTube and tutorials, and it's a lot. So I'm doing the solo stuff, and I'm going to do a solo album, too.
Cool.
I don't know when that's going to come out. Like, with my solo song, I recorded everything. I wrote the drums in the computer. I did the bass. I did the guitars. I purposely didn't do vocals because I wanted to focus on the instrumentation first. I wanted to see, can I write all of this by myself without any interjection? I'll get to vocals later. You know, like, because I have a plan for that, too. Like, so my solo record, I want to do kind of a half instrumental, half vocal driven album. It's gonna be, it's just it doesn't have a necessarily like a definite genre sound or anything like that, but it's going to be a very collective like type of album. Like, I want to use some of the Billings music scene people to do vocals on it, or to do a guitar solo or drums or something different. Yeah, I know. Definitely. I mean, I already have like 3 or 4 songs like written for it. I'm definitely going to sing on it too.
For sure.
That's something that I've been, you know, going down the path of, is also doing vocals too. I've always done like back vocals and stuff like that, but now I'm trying to take a more of a, not a full lead approach, but I have a lot more of a, a lot more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a lead approach, but like a much more center vocal than I used to. Especially in the new group that I'm not in. Which I'm not going to reveal anything of because I was told not to. Even though it's not really that big of a deal, but I'll be respectful.
Under wraps, it's in the works. Everything's moving along.
I mean, I think I did hint somewhere that I have a group and we're doing things, and you know about it.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
But if they want to keep it a little under wraps, that's fine. I mean, it'll come out when it needs to come out.
Yeah, and hopefully soon. We've been casting some ideas, but like I just work on my solo stuff now. In my off time, I'm not doing that. I'm tracking for that and trying to do the Twitch thing. But yeah, it's really like what I'm doing is just kind of being everywhere, as much as I can. You know,
Right on.
having a new job where I'm doing all that training is very stressful, and so
It's hard being
it
a
takes
musician
time, dude.
Yeah, it's hard to be a musician and be an adult at the same time.
Yeah, and then sometimes you go in there and you're like, I'm gonna record, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna play Xbox.
By the end of the day, you're just exhausted. And
You just play something else too. Like
For sure.
Like I like to go and find backing tracks on YouTube and just jam to those, or I'll jam to some cover songs or something. Just do something different, you know. That's what I like to do. So
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some things other than music, but
Sure.
but before we move on, give me like one or two of your like best memories as far as just playing on stage or anything in music. It doesn't just have to be. It could be something you saw. It could be somebody you met, anything like that.
I think one of my best memories of playing on stage was that Non-Point show.
For sure.
Because there was one, I think we were like 3 songs in. We were only playing 30 minutes, so we played like 7 songs. But we were like 3 songs in, and I don't know if it's the way we played or maybe because of half the crowd, like they came for us. I don't know. I don't know what it was that night. But every single thing just clicked.
Yeah.
And the crowd, dude, they were just so nuts. Like, we'd tell them to jump, they would jump. We'd tell them to do a circle pit, we had a big old circle pit. Like, that show, for me, was, like, one of my highlights, because I just could feel, I was like, geez, this is what, like, big bands feel for their own stuff. Like, this is crazy, dude.
Right.
I got goosebumps just thinking about it. So that was definitely one of my favorite shows, still one of my favorite shows to this day. Non-Point were really cool too.
I've met them before, just
yeah.
from seeing them. At the
Yeah,
show.
they were super cool. Some of the coolest musicians I ever met, not from playing, but I got to meet Howard Jones when.
Oh damn!
It was Devil You Know. Now it's Like the Torch. When they played here, thanks to Ruger, he got me backstage and I got to meet Howard. So that was a big deal. That
cool.
was really sweet. Some of the coolest guys we ever played with was Alien Ant Farm. They watched our whole show. They were out there with soundcheck. After they were done, like, sound checking, they invited us on stage and we were checking out all their gear and they were just talking. They were like, it was like you and I just talking. I mean, they were just hanging out. It was super, super cool. They were really cool guys. I'll never forget how they treated us. Like, they treated us like we were a part of their group. They invited us to go for drinks afterwards and stuff. And I don't know if Nate and Big Mac went out and did that with them. I don't know. I fell asleep. I went home.
Oh my god!
I know. I like got invited to go hang out with Alien Ant Farm, and I went home and I fell asleep. And I woke up and I think
Bummer.
Andre will probably correct me if he watches this, but I'm pretty sure he texted me like, "Dude, where were you?"
Damn.
And I just passed out, dude. Like, show days were always stressful for me because like I kind of took that leadership role, in that band and like kind of ran it. Andre was right there with me too, but like I'd make sure like I do all the set lists, I'd plan all that, make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. We got all the gear. Like I just kind of took that leadership role, and
takes a lot sometimes.
It mentally took a lot
for sure.
So that was one. Best concert I ever went to was the Eagles.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because that like my family's huge.
Was that in Bozeman or?
That was here.
Oh, it was here
at the Metro. But I think altogether, like, the last Kicking Karma show in December, well, not last December, but the December before the shutdown, I think it was the last show my dad and I went to, just me and him. That was probably one of my favorite shows, just because I got to hang out with my dad and we got to listen. I grew up on 80s and stuff like Sammy Hagar and Ozzy and, of course, all that kind of stuff. So, like, that has always been a very big connection part for my family and my brothers and everybody. So that was probably if I had to pick my favorite show, that's my favorite show.
Sweet.
It's King and Karma.
Did I ever tell you I met Ghost?
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Like, we didn't know it was Ghost, but we knew it was, because me and Kyle Moreland, we went and saw him.
He's going to be a dad.
I know, it's crazy.
The Glen.
The Glen.
I saw him post about something yesterday, and I was like, the Glen.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, we saw him in Missoula, and we ended up going to a bar right by the Wilma.
Oh, I think my uncle went to that show.
Really? Yeah.
It was like Columbus Day or something.
Yeah, it was like Memorial Day or something like that. Yeah. I don't remember.
Because I remember I had the day off and I had the opportunity to go and I didn't realize it.
Oh, damn.
I know.
Yeah, we just went to a bar nearby, and we were telling the bartender about it and how they're from like Sweden and this and that. And bartender comes up to me, he's like, "Where'd you say those guys were from?" And we're like, "Sweden." He goes, "Oh, well, all these dudes that just walked in have Swedish IDs." And we're like, "What?" And sure enough, we were talking to like a drum tech that was sitting there just bullshitting with us, telling about all the bands he's toured with. And I was like, "So are any of these guys in the band?" And he goes, "I'm not allowed to tell you." And I was like, "Okay, well, you just told me."
Yeah.
So I just walked up and introduced. I just was like, "Hey, I don't know if you're in the band or not, but great show." And I definitely met Tobias Forge because, I just remember seeing him. And then a few years later, it came out that he...
that guy is such... I don't give a crap what anybody says about Ghost. You can hate their music or not.
I love
man
Ghost.
is one hell of a musician and a songwriter. Like, he's honestly one of my heroes.
I love Ghost.
Yeah, my brother and I, so my younger brother and I are 4 years apart, but our birthdays are a day apart. So we've always shared a birthday. So now what we started doing is we go to concerts every year for our birthday, and whoever's birthday, like, alternate who pays for it. Well, last 2019, I keep saying last year, like we had a normal year last year. The last time we went to Ghost. We saw Ghost in Denver. And dude, oh my god.
Where was that at?
That was at Loveland. It was in Loveland, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So it was like at the Budweiser Center.
Sure.
Which was like it's like twice the size of the Metro. But you know how like when you like go to the Metro and they close off the back part and you can't go backstage? It's not the way there. Their whole ring is open. So we got to go backstage and see all of the stuff backstage.
Interesting.
It was really cool. It was really cool. And I don't know if like they just didn't do it, if that's like something no one normally do, but it was sweet.
Either way, you got to do it.
Yeah, because I'm a big nerd. I like the production. I want to see the gear and all that, and like I love that stuff. So that was really cool. That show was incredible, dude. Like, you want to talk about one of the tightest bands ever. Ghost is hands down one of the best performing bands I've ever seen. Like, he has handpicked the best musicians that play his stuff. And that's what's so cool about it. It's like, all the stuff you hear on the record, yeah, he'll hire people to play certain things, but like for the most part, all the guitar stuff is all him. All the vocals, they're all him. You know, some of the drums are him. So he's just an incredible musician. Like, he's kind of like Dave Grohl. Like, he can do it all.
And didn't Dave Grohl play in Ghost for a short time? He played on
one of their EPs. He just
okay.
So the EP that they did all the covers on, it's got like If You Have Ghosts, and it's got a couple different covers. He played drums on. I don't know if he did the whole EP. I know he did one or two of the songs, and then he produced that EP. So he wasn't in Ghost. There's never really been super famous people in Ghost. I think the keyboard player, one of the gals, played with Rob Zombie for a long time. That's in the band now. And then one of the guitar players' name is Par Alsen, and he played... What did he play? He played in some like Swedish black metal band, like super heavy stuff. But for the most part, none of the guys are like super known musicians. I think he kind of picks like the smaller, because I mean, you try to get a super known musician in that band, they'd be touring Ghost because they sell out everywhere they go. Mm-hmm. You know, that band is just propelling. And now that Cardinals of Papa 4, you know, they're gonna have a new record, and it's gonna be huge.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. I loved Prequel. I thought it was incredibly written. Yeah, there wasn't like as many like heavier songs like the last Meloria, but some of the writing on that album was just amazing.
Yeah,
like, and that's the thing is like and I'm sure you don't do this either. You don't listen to music passively. You know, just use it to buy time or like. Yeah, or listening to music, kind of just enjoying what it sounds like. You're analyzing it, you know, right? You're a songwriter. You're analyzing the lyrics, how he's singing. Like, that's how I listen to music, too. And, like, when my wife and I listen to music, she hates it sometimes because I'm just breaking it apart, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
It's just like anybody, you know? Like an actor's going to break apart a movie, and, like, or anybody who's part of any production is going to break it apart the way they see it from their eyes. So
yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I loved, that whole album back to front is just great. But the next record, he said it's going to be a little darker, so I'm excited for that.
Very cool. You brought up your dad,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about it before the show a little bit. And I know you wanted to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
And we don't got to get too crazy into details and stuff. I'll let you kind of just take the lead on that. You are one of the very few people that I know personally who did lose somebody to COVID,
Mm-hmm.
which is, my condolences.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't think I ever actually told you that to face to
Yeah.
face.
Well, I appreciate it.
But I know that was a really tough time, especially with the whole you couldn't be there with him and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
dude, I can't even imagine. And I think that stuff, honestly, everybody has their opinion. We talked about that too.
Yeah.
And I just think that aspect of it is pretty harsh on not just the patient but on the family.
Well, yeah, and what we found out too now is that I'll try to be as vague as possible so I don't throw anything under the bus, but I'll say a little bit what we found out now is all the rules changed.
Yeah.
Because of how my family when my dad was up there, they had 7 people up there. They were not overran. They it was really in the beginning. So we know more about the virus than we did previously. But at that point we didn't. So I'm just looking through Facebook memories, seeing posts that I would make about the and how much different I feel about it now versus how I felt about it then, and going through that experience. But it's because we just didn't know much about it. So there was 7 people up there, and they wouldn't let just my mom go up. And so my dad got it, my little brother got it and got sick. My mom had it but was asymptomatic. Technically I had it not at the same time but recently, and was asymptomatic because I had the antibodies in my blood when I donated blood.
Oh, okay.
My wife had it over Thanksgiving. She was pretty sick. And she is... she doesn't have she got her thyroid ablated, so she had hyperthyroidism. So I was a little more worried about her getting it just because that just wrecks your immune system. And that's the thing about the virus is for people like us that are younger, it's much easier to shake off. But if you do have an issue where your body's not fast enough, it can be pretty deadly. Mm-hmm. It can be. And for my dad, he wasn't the healthiest person in the world. No, I can honestly tell you that. He was on dialysis and stuff, but he wasn't unhealthy to a point where that should have killed him. What it was not the virus that killed him. It was the lack of understanding and the lack of care. And I don't mean that in a negative way of people who are caring for him. It was the ideology of, we don't know what this is, we don't know how to deal with it. He should have been, when he got there, he was fine. He was kind of sick, had the pneumonia aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now what they do when that happens, they stick you right in the ICU, right? So you can be on the oxygen, all that. They didn't do that for my dad. He literally was in a room and just deteriorated because they weren't giving him anything. They weren't doing anything for him.
When was this?
This was in July.
Okay, yeah, so real
early.
Yeah.
And it's weird to think about that was early, but realistically we shut down in March. That's, a few months.
And it didn't, and even with the shutdown, it didn't really start coming
until
here
until late summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So yeah, my dad, people always, what was his conditions? Well, yeah, he was immunocompromised, but for the most part, though, it really should not have affected him the way it did. And that's what sucks about it so much is that man, if he would have been able to go to the ICU the first day and just had that care, would it have been different? If they would have given him the vitamins or the hydroxychloroquine, whatever that is, anything. But because he was a dialysis patient, they were worried about how, they were going to facilitate that and give him certain things. Because once you do that, you can't take certain drugs or, have certain medications because of how it affects your kidneys. And for him, he still had 20% function. He just had kidney disease. It's just, something that happened. Mm-hmm. But that, I don't like to think in my head that is what actually caused him to pass from it. Because I've seen people that were healthier than him. My friend's grandpa passed away. Didn't have a lot of the same ailments, but it just happens. There's just sometimes people's bodies can't handle it.
Well, and everybody, it seems just from everything I've heard, like some people just deal with it differently. Like it's just like anything, really. Yeah. Though
they say your blood type,
I've heard that too.
Has a lot. Like Savannah didn't get too sick. She lost her taste and her smell and stuff, and she never had like the super high fever. I know my other buddy, my brother, when he had it, he got all this. He was super sick, but he's 22, 23, so he can, fight that a little bit better. But he had to wear a heart monitor afterwards because his like heart, he'd just randomly have like palpitations, and he had a heart defect when he was born that was fixed. So maybe that could have been connected, but something. See, that's what's so weird about it is like it triggers things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it. And that's the thing. It's like I was saying to you earlier, is like I totally am a person that believes that like people that are younger, people that are healthy.
That's the main thing.
The numbers don't lie. It's a 97% survival rate. You do all the right things, take care of yourself, take your vitamins.
Yeah, absolutely.
I take a multivitamin every day, so does Savannah. We take a vitamin C. I haven't gotten, knock on wood, I have not gotten sick at all since last year, and I don't even think I had corona. When she was sick the whole time, I didn't even get it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, until I saw the antibody. So I must have had it
Either
somehow.
way, your body fought it off if you did have it.
Yeah. So I think that, as us young people, sure, we'll be fine. It's not a big deal. But there are people that are immunocompromised that it will affect, just like the flu does, just like any other virus will. And I think that a lot of it is exaggerated. A lot of it is just over the top. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, did I not go see my 90-year-old grandmothers for quite a while? Yes. Did they get the vaccine? Yeah, they did. They should. They're older. I hate to say this about both of my grandmas, but they're 90. They have lived a full-on life. And if the vaccine doesn't work and they get it, I hate to say that, but I mean, it's like, yeah, it makes sense, right?
But they're still in that group where it's like they're the ones who should be taking
exactly.
it. Like,
they're the ones. If we're going to protect the older population but not have to shut everything down, then that's what they should give them.
For sure.
And a lot of the older people, from what we've seen or what I've seen, my grandmas haven't had any side effects. They just got their second shots a few weeks ago. And
I don't think these companies are going to put out this vaccine and have it kill a bunch of people. Like, how would that look on them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's so many conspiracy theories that run through, dude. It's like...
But that's been the entire year, just conspiracy after conspiracy.
Well, and there's still people that don't, like... You don't have to believe everything with it, right? You don't have to believe that you need a vaccine. You don't have to believe that it does this or that and this. But at least acknowledge that it is real.
Yeah, for sure.
It is real. I mean, my dad wouldn't have had to go to the hospital had he not been sick. Mm-hmm. Like, it is a real thing. So that's one thing I get, like, with clients and customers and stuff in, like, my industry is, like, they're still, it's a hoax. And I was like, yeah, well, tell that to my dad and tell that to my buddy's grandpa. Like, people died from it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like one place where it's a 50-50 between people where they agree or they disagree with it. But I'm not. I mean, I don't believe in the shutdown thing. I'm not rushing out to get a vaccine. Like, I do my own research. I'm smarter than that. And I would rather, if truthfully the vaccine is truly going to be what gets it all better, I would rather the older population get it.
Well, that's what it's meant to do, is like, because if you get the vaccine, from what I know, from what I've heard, mm-hmm. It stops you from, like, getting it, or at least, the symptoms and all that. It'll fight it off, but you can still transmit it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if the older population gets it first, like, we can still transmit the disease and catch it, whatever, but at least if we're transmitting it, we're not transmitting it to the people who are going to,
right.
Yeah,
and like,
it doesn't make sense for us to get the vaccine, like the younger population to get the vaccine first, and then still be able to transmit it to the vulnerable.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the whole video of Rand Paul
I did see that. Yeah,
going
I did see
after.
that.
I don't believe a word the dude says. Not Rand Paul, Fauci. I think he's an idiot.
Just a puppet. Just like a lot of them.
Yeah,
Just like
I mean, like, I'll go with what the CDC has changed a lot from, and I get it. Like, people
as you're learning more about it,
and that's the key. Like, people are gonna. Well, they told us not to wear a mask. Now it's a hoax. That doesn't mean anything. They told us that cigarettes were good for us.
Yeah.
Like, now we know it causes cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely don't. I don't pay attention to the media. I don't pay attention to him. I just do my own research. I also just don't worry about it. It might have taken my dad from me, but it doesn't control my life. It doesn't scare me. I'm still going to go to shows. I'm still going to play music, because that's what my dad would have done too. My dad wore a mask. He did all the things he was supposed to do. My Savannah wears PPE when she's in the hospital. Mm-hmm. She wears a mask. She got it.
Is that what she's going to school for?
She's a radiologic technologist, so she takes x-rays.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she's just about to graduate here in May, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, rather than focusing so much on, like, all that with your dad, I'd rather hear, like, stories and things that, like, good memories that you have with your dad, like, thing for other people to
Yeah, definitely. Well, my dad was county sheriff for 30 years, so, like, I grew up around, like, law enforcement, and that was a really huge part of my life, the jail and everything like that, so.
Hey, I have that too, just on a different spectrum of that aspect.
So, yeah, we've all have those family members. I could tell you a lot of stories about that one too, but like that was always a big thing. So I always have a different. I think there's a lot of people, especially right now in the political climate and the social climate, no back to blue and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't really buy into the whole back to blue. I don't do the social things. Like, I know you and I are friends on Facebook and stuff. I never post anything political.
I've gotten to that point too myself.
I just don't do it because it's just disgusting on social media. It's such a cancerous, horrible groups to be a part of, whether they're positive or not. It just breeds, social media completely breeds negativity. If I didn't have music to promote and do things with, I would not have social media. 110%.
Well, it's like, the only thing that doing that does is you're not changing anybody's mind if you post your political views. The only thing you're doing is, like, shouting out from the rooftop, like, "Hey, this is what I believe in."
Echo chamber.
Yeah. It's like, "Hey, I'm a good guy. Like, I like this stuff." Or, "Hey, like," it's just, that's all it is. Like, it's
definitely.
it's not. You're not changing anybody's mind. The only thing you're doing is, like, riling people up,
right,
or, like, getting people to be like, "Oh yeah, like that guy. We're on the same page. We fight the same fight." And that's not how it is. Like,
I'll do that with music.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, when it comes to just, like, the things I like to post are just funny stuff, things that are gonna make people laugh, or just, like, if it's some, like, quote that's, like, uplifting.
Yeah.
Like, keep politics and shit out of it. When did politics become this, like, hot topic that everybody wanted to be a part of? Like, it used to be politics were boring and nobody gave a fuck.
Well, I think it's because, and say what you will about the last president, but, like, there's so many groups that were saying, like, he's going to wake a lot. He did.
Yeah.
He did. I think that's, like, what I mean by that is, like, he got because of what, like, all the things that were happening, and, like, I don't think anybody's been as engaged in politics as they are now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of that. So, again, no matter what anybody's opinion on that is, he did wake a lot of people up into like, just paying attention, being more involved. And on that note, I need to use the restroom.
Deal. We'll take a little break. All right. We're back from a short pee break. I do want to circle back and just finish off talking about your dad. If you have any, like, specific memories or just anything you want to share about him, maybe, just to close that out.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a specific memory. My dad was always super supportive. Like you were saying that, you always saw him at shows. He was at every single show I ever played, unless he was sick or something. It's something that so my whole family is musical on both sides. My aunt writes for country artists. My brother played guitar. We all played in orchestra. My cousins play. One of my cousins is one of the best slide players I've ever seen. My uncle. I mean, like everybody in my family except for my mom and dad. My dad, bless his heart, tries to sing, but not really much of a singer. But I mean, he does. But he just like, I grew up so involved in music, but my parents never pushed me to do that. And I think that was always kind of cool for my dad. Like, I never really talked to him about it, but I always kind of thought that it was cool for him because it wasn't something it wasn't something they had to make me do. Like my dad was always supportive. I'm one of 3 boys. My older brother and I played baseball. He was always the coach. My younger brother played football. He was at every football game, all that kind of stuff. So like my parents both, I mean, my whole family comes to, my grandma even comes to my shows and stuff.
Nice.
So like, I think it was cool for him because he never had to push. Like, I think some parents like, oh, you're going to do sports. You're going to do this. I know when I have kids, I'm definitely going to have them play music, but from a loving way and not like, you need to play music because I do. And I think for him, it was cool because I was just so into something and it was something that he liked too. It was always something that we could, connect on. And I think it was a really cool thing for him to see how it worked, like being in a band. I don't think he always went to concerts. He told me like my dad always knew everybody. Any place we go, he would run into somebody anywhere. We could be anywhere and he would know somebody.
Right.
And he grew up in California when he was a teenager and stuff. So he went to all the big concerts and so he knew a lot of the people. He'd get backstage and he'd hang out with all the artists and all that kind of stuff. And I think starting when like my band was kind of propelling a little bit and getting to do those shows and stuff, he loved all the new stuff that we liked too. And so he got to see some of his new favorite acts or people like that. And he got to be more a part of it because I was in the band, he was the band dad. He was the roadie. He was the guy. So I think it was just kind of cool for him. He really supported me, and not to say, I mean, my mom supports me 100% too,
sure.
But I remember being 14 and learning how to play guitar. My brother had an acoustic, just a Yamaha acoustic, just like that. It's what I learned on. Mm-hmm. I taught myself how to play Paranoid, Black Sabbath's the first song. I taught myself how to read tabs. For whatever reason, I decided that day I was going to pick up the guitar and just play it. And I played violin since I was 12, so I played orchestra all the way through school. And so I had I had the ear, I had the knowledge, at least for a little bit at that time, to do it. And I remember like 6 months of being self-taught. I took some lessons, and I just kept begging my dad, like, please buy me an electric guitar, like a real guitar. Like I had one of those like toy, $100, everybody gets one of those type of guitars. And I had actually taken it apart when I was younger, so it was like in pieces. I'm like, I can't play this, So I just begged and begged. I remember my dad taking me and my mom taking me to the guitar store right when Guitars and Amps had just opened. And I didn't know that Jay had a shop before, and it was called like the Pro Shop or something like that. Older people like tell me that all the time, but Guitars and Amps was the new store. I went to Hanson's. I didn't really like anything there. I really wanted like an SG type guitar, but I don't know why I didn't want just an Epiphone SG, because I was really like into Tony Iommi and stuff. So I want an SG, it's so cool. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't find anything. I played a bunch of guitars. I went to Eckroth, went to Hanson's, didn't like it. Then we went back to Guitars and Amps. And at this point, like, my dad, he's just enjoying the time. My mom's fed up at this point. She just wants to go home. And I find Matt Gilg from Farthest Edge, didn't even know who he was at this point, but he was working at Guitars and Amps when it opened, and he pulled off a black Schecter Omen 6, which is my first guitar. I still have it, still play it. And that, I don't know what it was about that guitar, but that, I didn't know anything about brands. I didn't know about Ibanez. I knew Gibson. I knew Fender. Like, I knew the big ones. Mm-hmm. Never heard of Schecter before. And a lot of people like to tell me, oh, you play Schecter because Avenged Sevenfold plays Schecter. Didn't even know that. But I picked that guitar off, and that was it, dude. That was it. I was like, this is the guitar for me. And I got a little Spider 3 line 6 amp, And I think altogether, I think my dad, it was like $400 for the whole thing, or like almost that much. My mom was like freaking out. She's like, "You better play this," just that whole like, this better not be a waste of money. And and stuff, and I was just like begging. I was like, please buy this. So that's how my dad was always supportive. Like he knew he was gonna get some flack, and I'm not throwing you under the bus, Mom. But yeah, I think he always knew he'd get flack from my mom or something like that for doing stuff. But he always wanted to give us the best because his childhood wasn't. You had something pull up.
Oh, it's something different.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. The computer crashed, folks.
Yeah,
We just,
we've had some technical difficulties, but we're keeping an eye on it.
So, like he had a difficult childhood, and he always put us before himself. That's just who my dad was. Like, I remember he bought his first ever like super nice, like he bought a 2013 truck. I think it was like 2 years old at the time he bought it, 3 years old. That was the nicest thing he ever bought himself. And I just remember my mom always saying, she goes, think about how much your dad buys for himself. And I just sat there and I was like, wow, nothing. My dad always provided for us. And I think that's just like, he always knew he'd get that flack from my mom, but he knew what he was doing, He provided that to me. So, I mean, I totally owe it. Like, my song that I released, Voices of the Dead, which the reason I named that song is not because my dad passed away. I think some people ask me about that. It's totally coincidental because I always do code names for my songs instead of calling it new song or blah, blah, blah. And there was a reason the music video kind of is more of an image of why it's called Voices of the Dead. But, like, that was dedicated to my dad because my dad would want me to continue doing what I do, playing music, what I do. He was always the proponent propelling me to push harder, be better. I mean, there are times, like, my mom's super blunt. We play a show, she'd tell us we sucked. Straight to my face. You guys are horrible. Like, you guys suck.
It's always nice to have that sometimes.
Yeah,
too.
but my dad, like, I'd be writing riffs and stuff, and he'd be like, yeah, that's a good one. Like, I could hear him in the kitchen. I'd be writing, or he'd be like, nah, you're missing it. Something's missing there. He'd always interject like that. And then what I still to this day call my $1 million riff, Primal, from Engage the Unseen. Yep. When I wrote that riff, I remember him coming. He goes, "What is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know yet, but it's gonna be good." And that was still
that's such a good feeling.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, He'd always tell me, he goes, "You write riffs that turn people's heads." And my dad, obviously, I'm the biggest thing ever. I'm his son. But he always did that in a way that never made my head any bigger, though. And it also didn't feel like it was just my dad saying that. It made me feel good. So. It's in a roundabout way. Those are my best, memories
for
of
sure.
that. So
yeah, like I was telling you earlier, every time I saw him, I only met him just a few times, but he was always there, always at your shows, very supportive. So that's definitely the memory I have of him, at least, just of the few that I do.
Yeah,
so.
And that a lot of people have that, and him being in law enforcement for 30 years, there are some of my friends that met him on the other side,
sure.
And there were people that came to his funeral that were inmates from. People that were in jail that came 20 years ago, but they said, your dad changed my life. Your dad, the way he talked to me was not like an officer talked to somebody. It was somebody who had dealt with things in their life that, I know that sometimes can be a cliche, but really, you ask anybody that knew my dad on a personal level or even on that level, they will all tell you the same thing, that he changed their lives or the way they looked at stuff. That's the number one thing I want to perpetuate about him. So
well, cool.
It's what I try to do in my own life.
Very good. That's awesome. Well, you said earlier you wanted to talk about fitness, so
yeah, you said you were working out.
Yeah, I'll show you my weight room when we get done here, but
show me his weight room.
Yeah, that's code.
Yeah.
My sex dungeon.
Quite frankly, he's going to show me his weight room.
But yeah, so I got my weight room. I've been working out like every morning, but I just recently my sister she has a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
So I just did that, and that was painful.
Oh yeah, definitely. CrossFit's insane.
It is.
I don't even dabble in that. I'm
just trying it out. Just give it something. Just like I'll still do my morning workouts and stuff, and I'll probably do that 2 or 3 times a week just to add something to it.
I think it depends on what you're trying to do. CrossFit for me is like straight cardio. Like, I don't know how much maybe I might be naive to it.
It's kind of just all endurance. It's it's cardio. Yeah. It's like, high intensity, long repetition, or like multiple repetition type things. So.
Which is great for your body and great for that. But like if you're trying to build muscle, I don't know if I'd go straight for CrossFit, but that's just me.
Yeah, everything's different. Everything goes, So, what have you been doing? Like,
so I do. I don't know if you've ever seen the ads, but I do a program called Kino Body.
okay,
And it is totally changed my life completely when it comes to fitness and just how I think about like being in shape and stuff. And all it is so there's one of the programs, and some people, I mean, watching this maybe have seen the ads too. They're kind of douchey. Like Greg, the guy who designed the program, but he doesn't take himself seriously, so it's funny douchey. You know, so what it is basically is it's focusing on like key lifts, key workouts, caloric deficit, and then I do intermittent fasting too. Nutrition protocol is literally just being within my calories, so I can eat whatever I want. You know, obviously you want to do an 80-20 split, 80% healthy foods, 20% ice cream, McDonald's, that kind of stuff. But and so I work out. All I do is 3 days a week.
Okay.
And I do so like in the program, and it's a 12-week program each time, depending on what you're doing. So he's got ones for like I'm on a more of like a shred define program. There's bulking, lean bulking, all that kind of stuff. It's one time that you pay for the program. You get they're coming out with an app here within the next month or so that'll be cool. Basically, you know, like Monday I'll go in there for like on this protocol it's shoulders first, so I'm doing a bunch of shoulder workouts, and then Wednesday I do my leg workouts, and then Friday I'll do chest and arms. And so like what happens is if you like work out, the science behind it, and a lot of the bigger fitness guys, like I don't know if you've ever seen any of those guys on YouTube, like Greg Duchette, Coach Gray, he's crazy.
I don't know if I know that one, but I know
Dates
I know
for Plates, his name's Derek, or no, what is it, More Plates, More Dates, or something like that.
Okay.
There's a lot of guys. Did you ever hear of what was it? Greg's program is basically built off his own knowledge, and then another one called something Lean. Oh, Lean Gains.
Oh, okay.
Is basically what it is. And like, there's a lot of guys out there, like YouTube influencers, like V-Shred.
Yeah.
Dude's an idiot. The dude is an idiot. Like every single person that does fitness, like, so Greg Duchette, he is a world-class bodybuilder. A doctor in kinesiology. Like, he knows what he's talking about. He's like, do not ever do anything this guy says, because he's an idiot.
That's the ones that's always like, you can eat whatever you want and still have a body like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Greg markets that way too.
Sure.
I think that's just marketing. But like the exercises that he's doing, he does this one with a kettlebell where he goes like this and like flicks his wrist. I'm like, you're gonna break your wrist doing that.
Just like
Greg,
okay.
Like he's been trained by like real people and stuff, and none of the workouts are made up. Like they're not like so like my shoulder workout on a Monday consists of doing standing barbell press, easy, Bradford press, which I had never done before. It's where you take the barbell and you come back like this and forward.
Okay.
Then I do pendlay rows, so I'm bent over and pulling the bar up this way. I mean, it's just normal workouts, right? So I never feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
So do you have all your own equipment then?
No, I go to the gym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I wish I had a home gym. I don't have the space yet for that, but hopefully.
So it's like, it's just a program you follow, and then you just take, the things he says, and then you just go to the gym then? It's not like a home workout, like one of those...
You could. He's got a body weight one.
Okay, I got you.
You could do all... If you had a home gym, you could do all this at home.
For sure.
It's basically just like Monday, this is what you do. Wednesday, this is what you do. Your whole week. So you're in a caloric deficit. So which is crazy to think, like, usually I'm 5'10", so usually, like, in high school, I weighed, like, 160 pounds of nothing. I was, Justin, super skinny. That's what I was like in high school, too. Now I weigh 190 pounds, but I'm super lean. Like, I just have a bunch of muscle on me, which is crazy. I want to get down to, like, 180, 175.
I've been, like
12%.
I hover at 185, like, always.
You got to cut your calories. Like,
well, I don't mind being there, like, honestly. Like...
If you like, so it's all calories in, calories out. That's what I did.
Sure.
I did keto once. Never do that crap again. You can't cut food groups out. Sugar's good for you in moderation, right? carbs are good for you. That's your body's natural energy source. So like a day for me consists of, and intermittent fasting, you don't even have to do that on this program, but I do. So intermittent fasting, all I do is I fast for 16 hours every day. So I eat at 2 o'clock to 8 or 9, sometimes later. I don't have to follow that, but I do because I get really bad like acid reflux and stuff in the morning. Ever since I started doing fasting, nothing. It's gone. So it just works for me as a lifestyle thing, right? But I mean, there's times where I go to breakfast on Sunday, I'll eat at 10 in the morning. You know, I don't have to follow it. I'm not in a state where my body needs to be doing this or I'm not going to burn fat. No, I count my calories, a certain amount of calories I eat during the day, and then I do 10,000 steps a day to keep myself in a deficit, and then I work out 3 days a week. That is it. And I've seen more results. I've felt so much better by doing this program than I ever have doing anything else. And I promote it. I haven't really shared much on it, but to people that I know because I believe in it, because it works. I'm not cutting things out. I'm not doing anything that is not easy. I'm just counting my calories and working out 3 days a week. And all of a sudden I've got shoulders, I got muscles, I got...
Isn't it great
it's
when you start seeing results,
yeah, it's crazy. And I lost a lot of weight for my wedding and stuff, doing keto, but the toll that took on my body was so hard, and then it just came back.
Yeah, to drop weight fast is not healthy, and then also, it just comes back real quick if you don't stay on it.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of lies in the fitness industry too about diet and what you need. You don't need to work out 5 days a week and be in the gym for 4 hours. I know there's guys when I go to the gym that have been there for an hour already.
I suppose you have to if you want to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah,
but if you just want an average lifestyle,
yeah, and that's the thing is there is a difference between being my buddy is a trainer, a bodybuilder, and he works out way different than I do.
Yeah.
For me, Greg's programs aren't designed to make you a hulking monster bodybuilder.
Right.
It's his program is called Movie Star Physique. You want to have what Daniel Craig looks like, coming out of the ocean in James Bond, or
Chris Hemsworth. He's kind of bodybuilder style.
You could get as big on but he's not. But bodybuilders are
You're right. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. The big guys are.
Yeah.
What's his name? Christian Bale in as Patrick Bateman, and how lean he was. And it's real strength too. It's not like I'm weak. I went starting from last year, I could barely do incline 40-pound dumbbells. On an incline bench, and now I've gone to doing. Now I can do 780s.
Nice.
I've progressed, and I could feel the strength, and I've seen the results. So that's what I did in a nutshell. You should check it out, dude, because it is a real deal. It is awesome.
I think when it comes to any workout, whether it's just something small, light, something if you're looking to do heavier weights, whether just anything, the biggest thing that I think a lot of people have issues with is just consistency.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If you consistently work at it, you will eventually see results. And then, eventually you're going to get stronger. You're going to move up in weights. It's always, it doesn't even matter if you start light. Yeah, exactly. And for me, right now, as far as anything goes, my biggest issue has always been nutrition.
Yeah.
And I do try and eat relatively healthier. I don't really count my calories because that's never really been my issue as far as I don't try to lose weight as much as I try and just gain muscle.
Yeah. Well, that's calories though too, eating in a surplus.
It is.
So all you have to do is just calculate your body weight times 15.
Right.
So that's how many calories you're eating to maintain. Then if you want to gain weight, you're adding whatever the surplus is. Right. So doing in a surplus, you definitely, it depends on how much muscle you want to gain.
Exactly.
But
I've always been more tone. I just want tone. I don't want
then your deficits where you want to be. You want to drop your maintenance calorie by 600, and I guarantee you start doing that for 4 to 8 weeks, dude. You just
exactly.
It's for me, I feel like I've gained muscle, but I also haven't gained muscle. I've just been leaning down so much that
it looks like there's more.
Yeah, and then so what my plan is to get to 10%, 12% body fat, which would be ideal for me. I'd look pretty jacked at that point. and then I'm gonna do a lean bulk to build a little bit more muscle because I don't want to get super big. Like I wear like tailored suits and stuff like that for work, so I get any bigger, I ain't gonna be able to wear them.
Yeah.
You know, and like now I'm like putting on my clothes and like my shirts are like tight, but not because.
But that's a good feeling.
It's
actually,
like it's like the opposite. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like when I just got this shirt the other day and like it was like super tight on my shoulder. I was like, yeah.
That's how I felt putting this shirt on. I was like, geez, like I don't remember this being as tight as it was.
Yeah,
but
it's like a good tight.
It is. Yeah. I was gonna ask you about suits real quick, just because you brought it up.
Yeah.
Do you still work there?
At the suit store?
Yeah.
I actually just put in my 2 weeks there.
Oh, okay.
I don't need to work there anymore.
Right.
So, but I was just doing that to put Savannah through school. But for the next 2 weeks, I do.
What's a tailored suit cost? Because I've been thinking about. You know what?
Well,
I don't even want a suit as much as I just want like a nice vest and like pants and.
Well, so here's what I tell people that are like, well, I'm never gonna wear the whole thing. Buy the whole thing.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
Because like if you don't, you're gonna want. How many times people come in that I just want the jacket, and then they'll come out like the pants.
Yeah.
It's like you could just buy the whole thing because you want the combination. So like I try to buy my suits 3 pieces all the time. I'm not gonna wear all 3 pieces,
but you have it as an option.
Exactly. I have the option. It really depends on what you want. So our store doesn't do any custom tailoring, like custom suits. Like you go to Men's Warehouse and get a pretty okay custom suit. Like I got one for my wedding for like $600. Indochino is a website that does. They have stores too, but they do custom. So it really depends on what you're looking to spend. For what we sell some suits like because we're a local company. We have another store in Rapid City. We can sell a $900 suit for $499, and it's 100% wool. It's super nice. And then our tailor, if you want to bring the sides in, we'll do the pants, the sleeves to an extent. Like there are some stuff like you'll see ads for people in suits. Like a lot of the NFL guys are wearing suits. Those are bespoke. Those are thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Because they're specifically tailored.
Yeah. Bespoke means spoken for. Back in the day is what that means.
Okay.
Like the cloth has been spoken for. So a bespoke suit is totally from the ground up. All the canvas on the inside is constructed to you. You're not going to find that in Billings. I mean, yeah, you could go to Men's Warehouse, and I think they charge like $1,200 for it. But I mean, unless you have the budget for it, there's not really a point.
Yeah.
You can go onto a website like Indochino and build a custom suit that will fit you just as well if you know what you're doing. Some of our middle of the road suits, like our 3-piece, cost about $230. So I mean, for $230, you're getting a pretty good suit. It really depends on your budget, but quality in clothing is definitely you get what you pay for.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's with everything, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was just curious because at some point I've always wanted to have like a tailored suit.
Everybody should have one.
It feels great. Like
we get a lot of guys in there that are, cowboys, and they're out there working, and I'm never gonna wear this. Well, the one time that you're gonna have it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the thing. It's like I try to tell people, they'll come in and they'll put the suit on. I can tell they're a little uncomfortable because they've never worn it before. Mm-hmm. The first thing people do, they always do this, put their arms up to see how far the sleeves go up. Well, I was like, well, it's not what it's designed to do. You're not going to be, doing stuff
That's
like
a good point,
that,
yeah.
right? There's a certain length that you want your arm and all that kind of stuff. And I always tell them is that the clothing should never make you feel uncomfortable. You should only ever feel confident. You should only ever feel confident when wearing a suit. And if it's measured correctly, if it's, the right thing for you and you feel good about it, then you will feel confident. And it'll change your perception. Like, you'll feel good when you walk in. Like, there's never a time anymore where, and in Montana it's so different. But like, man, after work, I get off work, I'm still wearing a suit. I'll go into the grocery store, people will give me a look, or I'll get smiles and stuff, and it makes you feel good, because you're just dressed. You get a lot of compliments.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Look good, feel good.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You should always feel confident in that clothing. And that's why every guy needs just one. You don't want to be the dude showing up to your best friend's wedding in jeans, or your, somebody's funeral in jeans, like. And it's so funny, like, people, they look at suits and they're like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. Like, they think that it's going to be uncomfortable when they get on. Man, this is nice. I'm like, yeah, probably because you've never, like, worn the right size.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, too, is, like, wearing the size. Like, they see, on a dress shirt, they see a 16.5, 32, 33, and they freak out because it doesn't say small, medium, or large. And then like once we kind of educate them, that's what the cool thing about my store is like we're such not a corporation that it's just like you walk in there and it's a different atmosphere than walking into like a Dillard's or a Men's Warehouse. Like we really strive on educating and like just being a much more customer oriented experience. Like we get to dress people for their job interviews and their weddings, like some of the most important moments in their life, and that reflects on our store. And so even though I'm leaving, it's still someplace like I was proud I worked there. Mm-hmm. I picked it up as a second job to put Savannah through school, and then I just ended up loving being there. I work with some really great guys, and it's never about the sales aspect of it. It's about what we get to do. Like my absolute favorite moment is when I get to see some guy come in with his girlfriend or his fiance, and I can tell the dude never has worn a suit before in his life. And he comes out, and I get him in the perfect fitting suit, all dressed up, and the girls' faces, you can just tell. I mean, they just light up. It's like they've never seen their significant other, their guy, whatever, dressed up like that. And that to me makes it so worth it because they get so excited. Or like I love working with the kids that are going to prom, and they're like kind of bashful. They don't know what they're doing, and I'm like, I just like to give them a lot of crap and stuff, and they just have a fun experience. And that's what I like about our store. So
cool.
Yeah, dude, go in there sometime.
I will. Yeah, for sure. Let's hear some of these riffs, man.
Oh yeah, we're gonna play.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Karter brought his guitar, and he's gonna play a couple riffs here. So
I'm gonna take my ring off. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry, wife. She knows I can't do anything. I'm gonna take my watch off too. I can't do anything on my left hand when I play anything. It just drives me nuts, like to have nothing or to have something on my hand.
For sure.
So like that took a while to get used to with the ring, but then like the way I play, like my ring would be knocking on the frets, and I'm like, I'm not gonna pay for refretting on that. So
or for a new ring.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's actually my second ring. I broke my first one like 2 months after we got married. Yeah, it was tungsten.
Yeah,
and it was really cold one day, and it came off my finger when I took my glove off and went flying across the lobby and just cracked.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I still have it. It's sitting in my safe box, but I had to get a replacement ring. So, kind of sucks. But so I wanted to bring my guitar because I saw this really cool thing on Metal Injection.
Okay, yeah.
Having like Tobias Forge did this too. Where like having like people play their favorite riffs and stuff, and I was like, that'd be kind of a cool thing to do. So,
sure.
I don't know if you can. Let me see.
Yeah, you're in there.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'll see if I remember any of these riffs. So like the first song I ever learned how to play was Paranoid. Like, I don't even know if I just played that correctly because it's been so long.
Right.
Well, I'm in drop tuning, that's why it sounded weird. Stuff like that. Like when I was learning how to play, like I don't know why Paranoid was one, but I was really into Ozzy.
Yeah.
The first time I knew that I wanted to play the guitar was when I heard Crazy Train. And it wasn't even the riff that was cool, it was the guitar solo. Like,
dude, Randy Rhoads.
Randy was, and it was just his, I think it was his birthday just recently. Yeah, dude, like that just changed my whole life watching Randy Rhoads like play that. And of course, like Eddie Van Halen is a massive influence on me. Eddie hands down is the best guitar player that ever lived.
R.I.P.
So that's the big thing. Like I was saying with my dad, like we always connected on a lot of 80s stuff. So I'm a huge 80s music fan. I love Dokken. I love anything with hair. I love Firehouse. I love Kiss, like all that stuff, man. My dad's favorite band was Kiss, Sammy Hagar. So like Kiss, I remember my dad showing me God of Thunder for the first time.
Ooh.
What is it? with that riff was just so cool. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember hearing that. I never, like, I like Kiss. Like, I love Destroyer. I love that record. But I never got into Kiss.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Kiss fan. But
like, I mean, some of those guys, like Bart Barkak and the guys that play in the Kiss cover bands are super cool. Scotty Simmons was always into that. I never was a massive Kiss fan, but, like, yeah, I love God of Thunder. You know, like Van Halen really, obviously, as a guitar player, heavily influenced. You know, first time I ever heard, like, Unchained. Like, that was a big one. Yeah, man, I have, like, all the favorite riffs, you know, but, like, some of my absolute, like, hands down, these are the best guitar riffs anybody ever written, would be, like, Bark at the Moon. It's really hard to do this couch.
Oh, I hear you.
But yeah, like that kind of stuff like really shaped me as a guitar player. But as soon as I heard, and I hope everybody's gonna roast me for this one. But as soon as I heard this, like Avenged Sevenfold Backcountry, man, just. Like, as soon as I heard that and the guitar solo, that was it, dude. Like, I knew Randy was the push, but as soon as I heard Avenged Sevenfold, that was it. I knew I had to play guitar. I knew I had to learn that song. I had to learn all of it. And then, you know, you got, like, favorite Avenged Sevenfold riffs, obviously, Backcountry, Beast and the Harlot. Like, that one's super awesome because you got the chorus that... You know.
Yeah.
Stuff that I can't play on acoustic.
Yeah, it's definitely harder.
Yeah, but
with stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, but then, like, one song that we always covered, like, Andre and I always connected on was just Unholy Confessions. Like, just such a badass... Such an incredible songwriting, all of it. Those riffs really like shaped, you know, a lot of my early guitar playing years. But then when I started like learning how to write music, I got into guys like Jeff Loomis and Andy James, which I won't attempt to play any of their stuff. And Matt introduced me to a band called Soilwork. Soilwork was Peter Vickers, their guitar player for quite a number of years. Then he left and then he came back. He was a huge influence on me when we were writing that record when we went to New York. A Storm Is Coming. That whole album, like, straight up has Peter Vickers all over it, because there's a record called the Panic Broadcast by Soilwork that was a huge inspiration for both Andre and myself too. We really loved that band. I love anything that comes out of Sweden too. I love Swedish melodic death metal. Love At the Gates, early In Flames, later In Flames. You know, The Haunted. Anything Ola England puts out is awesome. I don't know, dude. I just love metal. Like, I just love metal. Like, there's just nothing like metal. I think it was one time we were listening, Savannah and I, like, her and I like some of the same stuff, but she is very not, she doesn't like super heavy stuff, screaming and all that, and but the one, like, there's still like certain bands, like she loves Ghost. She's a big Cure fan and stuff. But one time we were listening to something, it was like super heavy. I was going crazy, and she's like, "You just have to have all the dramatic music, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, it's the energy. Feel that, like, you know."
It really is an energy.
When I was first starting to write songs, though, Kill Switch Engage, that was, yeah, dude. Hearing like, I don't know what it was about this Absolution, but I remember the first time I ever heard it, and I had never really like heard a riff that was like. where it went like that. It was like something about that coming up, starting from here as your root, and then coming up, down, and all of a sudden there's this big low note. I was like, dude, how did they do that? Like, how did they have that like power and not be open? Because I just didn't understand how the riff was played.
Right.
But like that just gravitated me, and then I started like really paying attention to how they wrote, and a lot of our music and a lot of the music that I still write is very Killswitch type metalcore. Yeah, dude, it's just some really cool riffs and stuff like that.
Well, give us one of your personal ones.
We talked about Primal.
Yeah,
earlier,
let's hear that
so
one.
that one. Oh, if I remember how to play it. So like that one, it's all about like call and response. Like,
sure.
So I'm calling. There. Where's the response? There's the response. And I like to like tailor a lot of stuff around the central idea. So like the verse in that song is, it's got this open, what'll be a C in the right tuning, but it's got this octave in it, so it's, so that's very prevalent, right? And then if I remember how to play that, I haven't played that song in years, so but like the way that this C, this note right here evolves through the whole way. So like you've got the verse, and then it's gonna come again, into the pre-chorus. So it's about resolution too. So you've got this really, oh, we're getting there. That feels good, right? Like that resolution.
Yeah.
And so the bridge in that song is riding on that C. Then we're gonna mess it up. No resolution. Then and the harmonic things, like if you listen to that song, there's like some harmonic in the breakdown. It's, and I got people like, oh, Disturbed, you know, like Dan Donegan does a lot of harmonics.
Yeah.
Machine Head, stole that one from Machine Head. That was another fun concert we got to play, was Machine Head. That was,
fuck yeah.
That was
That'd
awesome.
be good.
That was pretty awesome because I really loved Unto the Locust. Like that album was really big on me in like high school and stuff. So another couple of my riffs, like there's a couple I wanna show you, but I don't think I'm allowed to. It's another like, oh yeah, my dad's favorite riff from the time. So Justin and I, like, there's a lot of ETU songs that like Justin, Andre, and I wrote in Suburban Society the last time that I was in it. We wrote this song called Valor Valhalla, which became Valor for ETU. But that's my dad's favorite riff of all time. How does it? He always loved that guitar riff. He
I like
thought
that
was
one.
the best damn riff he ever heard. Rise is another big one. Justin and I wrote that one. I remember sitting in government writing that song, and I'm a big Shinedown fan too. I really wanted to write a song like Fly From the Inside, and so I just kind of had that kind of rock vibe in my mind. So there's that one. Yeah, man, it's like it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, man. Who would you place on your personal Mount Rushmore of guitar players?
4, or can I pick 5?
You can pick 5.
Okay, I pick 5.
Your personal. It doesn't have to be like who you actually think are like the 5 best, but who are your Mount
Such
Rushmore?
a hard. Tony Iommi, hands down, for sure.
For sure.
For sure, Tony Iommi. I mean, you can't get a better. Also, Dio Sabbath is the best Sabbath. I know I'm sacrilegious there, but Ozzy's better on his own. And Dio got
pull the mic a little closer.
Dio was better with Sabbath. I think that's just my opinion.
Fair enough.
Okay, so Iommi for sure. Am I close enough here?
Yeah, I'm sure you.
Iommi for sure. Randy Rhoads. Iommi, Rhoads. Sinister Gates, hands down. He gets a lot of flack for no reason because he's an incredible songwriter, incredible like solo guitar writer. The guy comes up with some nuts melodies. Andy James, and I'm gonna have to tie. It's got to be a tie between Keith Merrow and Jeff Loomis.
Okay.
Both instrumentalists, but I mean Keith Merrow was the whole reason I bought a 7-string. Even though Jeff Loomis is a huge 7-string player too, but Loomis is always what I've tried to attain as like a lead player. Andy James, his flavor, like his phrasing has always been some of my favorite. I like to steal a lot from him. Gates is one of my biggest influences. Randy, obviously. And then Tony, too. I mean, Tony, like, every time I listen to a good guitar riff, and then I still go back and listen to, like, the Mob Rules or, like, listen to Heaven and Hell, and I'm just like, God, dude, this guy had all of this figured out before anybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. If I could list you, like, all of my favorite guitar players, like, everybody that's good. You know? Like,
oh, for sure. I mean,
I love George Lynch. Like I said, I'm a big 80s guy, so I love all of that. I loved the 80s era. I mean, Eddie Van Halen. I guess I don't know why I threw like a couple modern guys, but I mean Eddie would be the king of all of them. So for me,
well, for sure, man. There's a lot in there for definitely. Well, I think we're getting toward the end here, man.
Yeah,
I mean, we had a really good conversation. Like that was a really good, easy flowing.
I had fun.
I
Hopefully
enjoyed
my
it
guitar playing didn't scare anybody.
No, that was great.
It was all right.
But before we go, I always like to do one last thing to close out the show. I like to give the guests an opportunity to send out some kind of a positive message or a motivational message, anything that pertains to you that you'd like to give off to the audience. Anything that comes to mind for you?
I am a complete believer in willing things into the universe, and basically, if you think it, it will happen. Every time I have goals, I write them down, and it always says I will do this. Like this year, I was getting a new position with a new firm, and I will get this job by this time. I will buy a house by the end of you're willing things. So do that. Write your goals down. Will them into existence. Only you have the power to make them happen. And you've got to want to do it. You have to want to do it. If you want to get in shape, you have to do the work, right? You have to want to do it and feel good about it and celebrate the little victories. It's all about the little victories. You know, speaking of fitness, you go 4 weeks, counting your calories, doing this, you're not seeing results. You go another 4 weeks. Oh, and hey, I'm starting to get this little muscle. That's the little victory. Do that. One last thing that I always say, always practice until you don't get it right, but till you can't get it wrong on anything you do, any kind of job. Make sure that you just can't get it wrong. And that's what I'll do. And keep believing that everything is going to be good, because we're going to come out of this and it's going to be a much better society, I think, and a much better brotherly love.
I hope so.
Also, music's coming back, and I'm excited about that too.
Oh yeah,
so.
I totally agree with you about the willing this stuff into existence. I totally believe in that as well. So,
yep.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Of course, buddy.
And let everybody know where they can hear your music and where they can.
Yeah, I've got an artist page. It's just Karter Estill, a musician, or it's like Karter Estill MT or something like that on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. Of course, you can hear the old ETU stuff on Spotify, and then any new music later this year, I'll be revealing and telling you how to find that. So give it a few more months, and there's going to be some more exciting stuff coming around.
Cool. I'll link you up in the description too. So
Cool. All applicable links down below.
absolutely. Right on. Well, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure to like, share, subscribe as always. And don't forget, life's a garden.
Dig it.